Hey friends, Sam Stone here, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about my very first song that I wrote about bipolar. It's called Who Am I? And it sparked really the rest of the songs that I have written about bipolar are a result of that first one, how it was received and how people talked to me after it. I actually received a whole ton of encouragement after coming out as bipolar, if you will, coming out to my friends first. And for some people, I would tell them that I'm bipolar, and they would, duh, of course you are. Because they knew somebody else who was bipolar, or they had known me quite well, or they had heard me discussing it with somebody else. Some of those reasons, right? So there are people that knew that I was bipolar. So the first song that I wrote was called Who Am I? And it goes like this. Go looking for a reason, and the reason isn't there. Go looking for an answer, and I haven't got a prayer. An all too familiar feeling, I've been down this road before, when the meds I sought for solace, they aren't working anymore. There's no place to run, there's nowhere to hide, when the enemy I fear comes from deep inside. I did it, but did I do it? Was it me, the one who blew it? I'd never do the things I did, never say the words I said. The one who did is gone and hid, retreated now inside my head, left alone and wondering why. If I'm not me, then who am I? Second verse is, I didn't start the fire, but I couldn't put it out. Watch the embers glow like paralyzing doubt. Just because the thoughts are there doesn't make them true. Can't find a way to tell the difference, so what am I going to do? Holding on to nothing with faith gone long ago, I wait on reason's return to tell me what I know, and then it repeats the chorus. So this was the first song that I wrote about the bipolar experience, and it's about sometimes when I'm symptomatic, what will happen is that I have a lot of emotions, right? It's bipolar disorder is an emotional disorder. And so, for example, I might find that I'm angry. I wake up, or not I wake up, but something happens and I'm angry. And my responses are all out of proportion to what they should be. In those cases now that I've become able to identify when that happens, a couple of things that I do that I would encourage you, if you're bipolar, to do these things. So the first thing that I'll try to do is I try to isolate myself. I don't want to be around people when I'm symptomatic. Get by myself, get away from people, don't damage a relationship. Don't tell people, stay off social media, don't call anybody, get by myself. The next thing I do, seek out medication. If it's because I have missed some doses, then make sure that my meds are right. If it's because I didn't sleep well, then make sure that I've got a good night's sleep in. So isolate until I'm me again, right? Because I hate that feeling, the feeling of who am I. There are times that I remember whenever I was young and I used to experiment with alcohol a lot, I would get just blackout drunk, and I would wake up and wouldn't know where I was. I woke up in bathrooms. I've woken up in just a mess. And part of that is the military culture. I was in the Marines for 6 years, and we do kind of dumb stuff like that, drink to excess and party to excess, and some of that is expected. Some of that, I think, were the early implications that I was bipolar, doing things to excess. I wasn't just a drinker. I would drink 750 milliliters of rum just about every night, like 5 nights a week. That's what I would do. And nights that I drank more than that, I would get blackout drunk. So it's kind of like that. Whenever I lose myself, go looking for a reason, and the reason isn't there. There's no reason for me to be upset the way that I am. Go looking for an answer, and I haven't got a prayer. An all too familiar feeling, I've been down this road before, when the meds I sought for solace aren't working anymore. So sometimes the meds will shift and they won't work as well. Sometimes I'll find myself just kind of drifting, where I don't feel right. I don't feel right. And I don't have a good basis of what right is. I remember the first time I went to see a psychiatrist. I was in my 20s, the first time I went to see one, and he was pretty good. He was in the military. But then afterwards, in my early 30s, when I was diagnosed in 2007, I did one of these psychiatrists where you pay you just pay cash. And boy, it wasn't terribly expensive, but it was an experience, probably an experience that led to me avoiding meds for a decade, avoiding psychiatry in general for a long time. There are good psychiatrists and there are bad ones, and my first couple were some bad ones. I mean, really, really bad ones. I'd go in and start talking, and it takes about 15 seconds before they'd interrupt me. 15 seconds, interrupt what I was going to say. Something that I'd been thinking about for hours, something that had been impacting my life for my whole life. I get 15 seconds to say something, and then I'm interrupted. At first, I was wrongly diagnosed. I was given Ritalin. You give somebody with bipolar Ritalin, imagine what that does to them. It triggers manic episodes. It's like you give them Ritalin and they like it. No surprise, because it feels like a illicit drug going through your system, just happiness, right? That's the way Ritalin feels to me, and that's why I don't take Ritalin. It's because I wound up getting addicted to it whenever I first got diagnosed. So I found that my personality was reduced to a set of symptoms. I was no longer seen as creative. I had delusions. No longer goal-oriented. I have racing thoughts. No longer driven. Symptom after symptom after symptom after symptom. It took almost a decade for me to find something else to identify with, because I wound up identifying with the disorder, identifying as bipolar. I would even use it as an excuse from time to time. I'd misbehave and be like, well, bipolar. Can't help it, bipolar. Now I have strategies in place. I'm medicated, and whenever I am symptomatic, it's not my fault that I am this way, but it's my responsibility to deal with it. And so when I'm symptomatic, I isolate, I do these things. I highly recommend those sorts of things to somebody who is bipolar. Highly recommend that. Next thing I want to recommend is find out something else about who you are. You're not a set of symptoms. You are. Your symptoms, if you're bipolar, then you probably have racing thoughts. You probably have delusions of grandeur from time to time. You probably go manic and spend a bunch of money from time to time. You probably do these things. Yeah. You probably have times where you talk really, really fast. And that's okay. That's not all you are. Even if some pay-as-you-go psychiatrist tells you that's what you are, you're more than that. A couple of years ago, I discovered the Myers-Briggs MBTI, Myers-Briggs Type Indicator Test. You can go on to 16 personalities, the number 16 personalities.com. Take the test for yourself and find out a little bit more about who you are. For me, I joined, turns out there are 16 different personality types. They're divided by introvert or extrovert, intuitive or sensor, thinker or feeler, perceiver or judger. On that axis, I'm an introverted, intuitive, thinking perceiver. I'm an INTP. It's one of the more rare personality types. I think there's 3% of us. There's a few others that are more rare, like the INFJ is more rare. I think the INTJ might be more rare. But we're a pretty rare personality type. When I found out about Myers-Briggs, I found out a lot about it because it was like relief. I found people that were like me, but were not bipolar. I found people that were generally logical, because the thing is, I find that I'm quite emotional from time to time. When I'm triggered, when I'm having a bipolar episode, I'm emotional. But when I'm not, my normal state, I'm aloof. I like playing video games. I like to, stay home. I like to stay in. I like to do things that are not wild. A person might find my daily life quite boring. I enjoy reading. I love YouTube. I love getting on to Wondrium.com and learning new things. So these are all things that I engage in on a normal basis. I love to write and love getting feedback on my writing. But these are because of my personality. So for me, when I discovered that I was more than just a set of symptoms, it really resonated well with me. I remember the 1960s, the space shuttle program, not space shuttle, the space program. There was an article that I read by, I think, John Glenn. He talked about how they did a whole smorgasbord of tests, right? You got to be very physically fit to go into space. You can't be, struggling to zip up your spacesuit. You can't, and you've got to be smart. But that's just the part of it. They do tests on your personality. One of the tests that they did that I found really interesting was they said, give me 20 answers to the question, who are you? He said the first answers were easy. I'm a Marine, I'm a fighter, I'm a father, I'm a brother, I don't know if he's a brother or not, I'm remembering from 15 years ago. But it was interesting. As he got on to the last ones, who are you? Now, a person without bipolar disorder will struggle with those last couple. Try it. If you've got somebody that you're watching this video and you've just got a loved one in your life that's bipolar, pause the video and write down 20 answers to the question, who am I? See how long it takes you to get the last 4 or 5. It's going to take a minute. Welcome back. I just did that. It's the first time I've ever done that. Welcome back. Pause the video. Welcome back. Interesting. So thank you guys for watching. I'd like to know what you think about this, about the issue of being a set of symptoms versus having a personality. Which personality tests do you guys prefer? Do you like the Big Five? Do you like Enneagram? Do you like Myers-Briggs? Love to hear from you guys in the comments. I'd like to know what you think. But as always, be nice. I am bipolar.